Hey, good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another Inside edition of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. I'm Kip Thompson. Tonight's show sponsor is Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. They have a great catering business. They got a really good food truck that's up on the main concourse area at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. Be sure to stop by and see those folks. If you have an event with 30 people or more, they'll come and show up and show out at your event. And be sure to tell them when you contact them that the Voice of Victory Lane sent you their way. Also tonight, our sponsor out of Supply, North Carolina, Barrier Fencing Supply. Those guys do an awesome job with aluminum fencing. They are working on a huge contract right now to bring in vinyl fencing. Be sure to contact those guys today and talk about volume, bulk, package pricing. And we're going to hear from them a little bit later on in the show. Tonight, we are very pleased to have a very special guest with us, Daniel Batten, around the racetrack. He is called Doodle. Really good friend of mine, known him for years around the racetrack. And he is here with us tonight to talk about the upcoming second annual Mark Batten Memorial. Hey, Daniel, good evening and welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you on tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you know, last year was the inaugural event with the Steel Block Bandits at the Halifax County Raceway, the Little Red Clay Bull Ring. And man, it was a show of shows. What a phenomenal way to kick off 2022 season last year, where we saw Dustin Mitchell capture the $10,000 win to kick off the 2022 season. We're going to kick it off again at the Halifax County Raceway again this year with the second annual Mark Batten Memorial. And Daniel, man, the talk is already getting overhyped, man. It's getting really exciting right now to look for seeing the Steel Block Bandits back again at the Halifax County Raceway. I know you guys are excited as well.
Oh, yeah, we're looking forward to it. I mean, last year was just, we couldn't ask for a better turnout. I mean, the place was packed. People showed up. I mean, the family was there. I mean, everything was just, the weekend went perfect. We had perfect weather. I mean, we couldn't ask for no more than what we had last year. I mean, it was an awesome weekend. I hope we can do it again this year. I mean, we're looking forward to seeing a good crowd again.
Well, you were exactly right. Halifax County Raceway last year for this race. Now, it was a Steel Block Bandit deal, but the crowd was there because it was the memorial race, inaugural event for your father, Mark Batten, a man who meant so much, man, to so many in the racing industry. And the people, as you said, they did show up. And, man, the crowd was electric. The place was packed. I mean, you couldn't even walk around any part of the corner of that racetrack, around the surface, around the fenced-in area, man, that they weren't shoulder to shoulder, 3-4 rows deep, watching the racing action. And we look for it to be just that way again this year.
I took the four-wheeler, I rode around and done a video of how packed it was in the pits. And it's crazy. I mean, that many people showed up. I mean, it was real heartwarming to the family, you know, because, I mean, we were hoping to have a good crowd, but it was way more than we ever expected. I mean, it just showed how much my dad meant to a lot of people, and we really appreciated it.
Yeah, well, you know, they say a lot of times if you miss the first one, make sure that you don't miss the second one. I know that the Steel Block Bandits will be coming into town. It's another $10,000 up for grabs to win there inside the Halifax County Motor Speedway. And I tell you, there's a lot of new drivers in the mix with the Steel Block Bandits. I know they've added some new drivers. They've got a really huge schedule again, following up the Deuces Wild Tour from last year into the 2023. They're calling it the Bad Company Tour, and it's going to kick off coming up March the 17th and 18th inside the Halifax County Raceway. And, man, we're super excited. Let's talk about some of the people that are instrumental in helping you guys put on this event for this year.
Well, first off, Michael Wells. I mean, if it wasn't for Michael Wells, this event wouldn't even be possible. I mean, him coming, we got together the year before Dad's race after Dad passed, and we kind of met. We both had the same idea when we come together. But this race is really possible. I mean, first off, you got to thank guys like Chris Parker with A1 Landscaping and lot cleaning, Dustin Moore with Colebrook Homes, Custom Homes, Malcolm Sanford with Sanford Insulation, Team 07, David, Marty Worth, them guys, the whole team, Chad Mullins with Mullins Racing Engines, You know, he was a real good friend of Dad's, and he helps out, you know, on the late model side. And I also got to thank guys like my uncle Bobby. He does the Batten Brothers Pole Award for 500, and with Brian Sullivan, tribute on Ricky Sullivan, he does 200, and Scott Lucas with Lucas Farms, he does 100. So it makes it $800 for the pole award, which is good money to go out there and set it on the pole. Well, in fact, quickest time. I'm sorry, a lot of people get confused with that pole award versus quick time. It's the quick time award, and also, Kevin Atkins, he puts up $100 for each heat race. And that's pretty neat. Something a lot of times you don't win nothing in the heat race, and he puts up that. So, and along with that, I mean, it's just a lot of people was last year helped out, and this year has come back on board. And without him, it wouldn't be possible.
Well, last year again, it was a great race. The heat races were great, and we're looking for a huge crowd of cars there with the Steel Block Bandits. Their late model dirt series challenge that they have is something that kind of races all over the eastern part of North Carolina, but they venture out to other parts of the country. And, you know, it's really cool to see a series that got off the ground like it did, and to see the amount of cars that they have, you know, week in and week out when they go somewhere.
I mean, when you go to races and you're racing with Ronnie Johnson, Skip Art, them guys, I mean, they're guys when we were kids, we were watching. They were in their heyday back then. And they're still getting up on the wheel. They ain't lost no touch. I mean, that's what I like about the series. I mean, traveling around is it can be exhausting at times, don't get me wrong. But for the driver, you know, it makes the driver better. And plus, it helps the driver, you know, it gets the sponsors out there, gets them away from the racetrack, you know. And, I mean, we really enjoyed the traveling last year. We had a lot of bad luck on our side, but we still have fun.
Well, when you talk about one of the people that's very instrumental of the Mark Batten Memorial Race, you talk about Michael Wells. I've been watching his Facebook page in conjunction there with the racetrack. Those guys are really, really doing a lot of work. It looks like getting into turn 3, where it looks like this thing's going to be a little bit more racy than it has been in the past. And maybe you can talk about, you know, some of the things that you've seen improvements at the track there thus far.
I know he's moved the wall out in turn 3. Anybody's been there last year, he had poles put up already. He couldn't get around to it. And he's moved that guardrail out, and he's put barriers up in the corners. And I think that moving that guardrail out is going to help these guys enter in the corner where they ain't had to knock the spoiler off to try to get in the corner. The way the wall was before, everybody was scraping the wall to get that good angle going in 3. And I think it'll help with the racetrack itself, because the guys won't be turning their race cars at that one certain spot every time they go in the corner. And he's I think with the barriers in the corner, it's going to help build a cushion up on the top. That's going to help keep dirt to build a cushion. And he's put new clay down also. And that new clay is pretty good stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think this year is going to be a pretty good show. I think so.
Well, anytime that I've ever been to the Halifax County Raceway, it is a great racing surface. I love the way those guys prep the track and everything there. One thing that I have noticed, you know, a lot of people worry so much about, man, I hope I got the setup right. I hope I got my stagger right. I hope I got my air pressure. But when you go to a place like that, I know that all of that is important. But at a place like Halifax, at some point of the night, the driver's got to show up, because when you go to a racetrack like that with the long little straightaways and the kind of paperclip little deal that's got in the corner, you know, if you don't, like you said, if you get in those corners and scrape up on the wall, you know, I guess people are trying to get in there and, you know, diamond off that corner, and you got to have forward drive. It's a different racetrack, but it's a racetrack that's got character. It's got some attitude, and it's a cool little place. It ought to be an action-packed event.
I know the last 3 or 4 races last year, he had it slick as glass. So he's figured something out up there. And I really think the clay was kind of wore out last year. And I think with this new clay on it, I mean, I would not be surprised if you don't see some 2-wide racing up there and guys really battling out this year.
Well, no doubt it's going to be a great event. It is the 2nd annual Mark Batten Memorial, March the 17th and 18th at the Halifax County Raceway. Kick off the 2023 season. Steel Block Bandits in the house for another $10,000 to win. We're going to take a real quick break, and we're going to hear from our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the life of Mark Batten with his son, Daniel Batten, right here on the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. We'll be right back. Barrier Fencing Supply is a fencing wholesaler and distributor based out of Supply, North Carolina. Whether you need fencing, fencing products, fencing accessories, or various other construction materials related to your fencing needs, we have the products you are looking for at today's most competitive prices around. Ask us today about bulk pricing packages. Call 910-269-8661. Contact us by email at sales@barrierfencingproducts.com. Barrier Fencing Supply, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Tonight's show is being brought to you in part by Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. We cater any event, big or small, groups of 30 people or more, weddings, holiday events, or festivals. Call us today, 910-237-4565. Contact us by email at jackson.bobby@yahoo.com. Follow us on Facebook at Raging Rooster Catering. We invite you to come get you some. Raging Rooster Catering, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Welcome back, race fans. I'm Kip Thompson with the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Tonight's special guest, Daniel Batten, as we get geared up to kick off 2023 season with the Mark Batten Memorial. It's the second annual event at the Halifax County Raceway. Daniel, hey, before we get into the rest of the show, we might want to talk to all the ladies and say, hey, happy Valentine's Day. It is February 14th. We're excited to be bringing you our show here tonight and just promoting and talking about a really, really big event that's going to go down, again, March the 17th and 18th, kicking off the 2023 season. So, Daniel, let's talk about, the reasons why so many people that you think that came out and supported that race, and we look for them to all come back again this year. Man, Mark Batten, your dad, touched the lives of so many people, never met a stranger, always had a smile on his face. I remember years ago when I met him down in the pit area at Fayetteville, and there's nothing not to love about the guy. You know what I mean? He was just a super nice guy, and he put a lot of people in victory lane with that Batten built power right there in his shop.
And Dad was, like you said, he knew no stranger. If he saw you, he was going to speak to you. He didn't matter where he went. He was going to talk. I mean, he was a man's man. He was a man of his word, was one thing. And, he stood behind his work. And if he told you he was going to do something, he did it. And if he saw somebody need some help, he won't too good to get over there and help him and get dirty and help him. I mean, that's just racing in is what's his life. I mean, he would tell you, this is what I love to do. He didn't wake up grouchy, mad because he had to go to work. He woke up ready to build motors and do what he loved to do. And that was just Dad for you. Well, no doubt that he had a passion about it, and rightfully so. He should have a passion about it, because that Batten built power, man, I've seen for so many years going to racetracks and seeing that on the hood. And Batten built power. I was able to find one of my souvenirs tonight to have on the show with you in memory of your dad. What again, man, just a great guy. So, you've been such a huge, vital part of putting this together. I know your brother Stephen, I know he's got to have a hand in this as well. Yeah, me and my brother, man, my brother's my sidekick, man. People get on me all the time, because I always brag about it. Me and my brother, I'm 36, he's 41, and we've never got in a fist fight. We've had some disagreements, but that's something I pride myself on. People think I'm crazy when I tell them, but my brother, we've never been at that point where we've had to sit there and fist fight and this, that, and the other. And it's something I'm proud of. I love him to death, and he's really been by my side in this whole deal. Well, you guys there in that shop, turn wrenches and, you're helping the outlaw, number 21, Michael Batten. But what I love to see when you talk about the connection and the bond of you and your brother, I see you guys on Facebook, man. It's not just these local tracks, man. You guys go all over everywhere. I'm jealous, man. I wish I was part of the Batten clan sometimes, because look, man, those guys are at this race, man. They're down here at another race. And you guys do, you may not drive the race car yourself, and your brother may not drive the race car himself, but you're still racers, man. And you just absolutely love this sport, man. And it shows. Yeah, when Michael started out in the Super Street, I told him from day one, I'm with you. And I've been with him ever since. And me and my brother, we'll jump in the car. Like last year, we hopped up on Wednesday and took off to Florida to Volusia. He's trying to get me to go this week, but I can't go. But we're going to go next year to East Bay, I reckon. Go down there for that last show at East Bay.
Well, it's always a fun time of year because when you start to see the Lucas Late Model Series start to do their speed weeks as they go from Brunswick, Georgia to Golden Isle Speedway down to Atomic to Alltech. You've got East Bay. Now they're going to Volusia. It starts building momentum around here at home because everyone knows that racing season is right around the corner. And, as we continue to gear up, now we've got at Fayetteville Motor Speedway, North Carolina Speed Weeks coming up in about 2 weeks. Where the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, we will be at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. And that's going to kick off things for us. But we are looking forward to kicking off 2023 Batten built style is what we're going to call it. With second annual Mark Batten Memorial at the Halifax County Raceway. Now, any other big events, that weekend going to be going on? I did see the other day, I think on your Facebook page, some new swag this year, some new Mark Batten Memorial T-shirts. And man, those things look pretty good. How can people get their hands on those?
We will have them at the racetrack. I'm supposed to get that order in next week. We got shirts and hoodies. We got the black and the gray. Hoodies we only got in black, which only got a certain amount of hoodies. So if you want them, you have to jump on them pretty fast. But the hoodies will be 40 and the shirts will be 25. And they'll be at the Outlaws trailer, Michael Batten's trailer. I'll have them over there with me. And my wife, I want to say thank you to my wife first off before I even start on that because she handles a lot of that for me because that weekend is so, I say, hectic that I'm here, there, and all over the place. And my wife handles that for me. And I'm just forever grateful that she's by my side during this whole deal.
Well, it is a family tradition. It's like a huge family. The Battens, everybody comes together to honor and remember Mark Batten for the great man that he was. And before we go, let's talk about, I'm going to put you on the spot here now. Maybe one special racing event with your dad that just really means something to you that you'd like to share with everybody. I know there's got to be one, probably several.
Probably with us, not just me, but Dad, when James won the race for kids, I can't remember the year, it was on the wall, 2010 over there. When he won that race, that was one race that Dad really, really appreciated. And he always talked about it. That was a race to him that just meant so much to him because him and his brother, all the family was there pretty much. But I think my cousin Jimmy's got a picture on his Facebook where the whole family's behind him celebrating. It was just, that was one win that it's just hard that's the first one that sticks out to me.
Well, I know that there are many, many more memories, and I'm sure that there are going to be some stories. Hey, remember this time? Remember the time we did yada, yada, whatever, coming up in March as we remember your dad for the great man that he was. And now are you,
for me now, a lot of memories come when we would meet in Victory Lane with the customers. Now that does stick out. There was a bunch of them now. When Dad's customers won, he was going to be at Victory Lane waiting for him. And me and Dad always went together, and we would meet at Victory Lane. And I missed that hug. We did it, boy. We done it. Got it done, didn't we? I mean, them kind of conversations, that's what I miss a lot about the racetrack.
Well, that is one of the highlights for me. That is something that I get to do a lot of different weekends during racing season. Join people in Victory Lane. It's been named. I was asked one time before, I was the guest on somebody else's podcast, and they asked about being in Victory Lane and to sum it up in one word, what Victory Lane or being in Victory Lane means. And the word we came up was emotion. It's a place of emotion because I've said it before on several of our shows that there are people who win multiple races throughout the year. But there's that one given Saturday night, man, where all the blood, sweat, and tears of one guy who has been working day after day, night after night, week after week, year after year, and they finally park it in Victory Lane. And man, it is a special deal. And I do remember many times being around Victory Lane, especially at Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and seeing Mark Batten there, hugging, shaking hands, slapping high fives, slapping on the hood, pumped up because that Batten-built power took home the checker flag.
And Dad would tell everybody in a quick minute, cherish every one of them, because you'll never know when the next one's coming, and when you win, the emotion does get there to you. I don't care how many times you win. When you go to Victory Lane, it's hard to describe. I tell people all the time, if Michael was to win Dad's race, they probably have to pick me up and take me to Victory Lane, but I probably wouldn't even be able to walk, which last year was just as close as Michael winning it with Dustin winning it, because Dustin was a longtime customer of Dad. And I remember when Dustin would come in the shop and he wouldn't even speak. He was just so quiet. And Dad thought the world of Dustin. And with him winning that race, that was the next best thing to Michael winning that race, in my opinion.
Well, as we continue to promote and look forward to the second annual Mark Batten Memorial, a question as far as like Battenville. Now, I know you guys were doing some stuff in the shop. Have y'all kind of gotten away from that? Or are you still dabbling a little bit, or what's going on there?
I've done Michael's motor. I got my uncle's motor I'm working on next. And I got a motor for Dustin to do. I'm kind of picking and choosing what I want to do right now, because I'm not fully ready to take on a whole lot. And I be honest with you, I really don't want to never get to that point where it consumes me, because I don't do this for a living. This is kind of like a hobby to me on the side. And I feel like it's my way of continuing Dad's name the best way I can, So I don't know, who knows, 5 years from now, it might be full blown. Who knows? Time will tell. I tell Michael and I tell my brother, I tell everybody, I'm just doing the best I can now to make everybody proud as I can.
Well, from hearing you say that, what it sounds like to me is that for a long time to come, we can still look to see that Batten-built legacy, the name of your father, still out there for years to come.
That's the plan. It sucks doing it without him, but I'm trying to do the best I can. And like I said, I just want to keep his name going the best way I can, and we'll see. Time will tell.
Well, we want to thank you so much for taking time to be on the show. We are super excited, looking for the second annual Mark Batten Memorial, and it's just going to be a great event. And man, we thank you guys for putting this deal on, and for all the people that have joined up around you. Isn't it great to see whenever you do something like this? You see the racing community come together. Man, it's a family away from around the dinner table. You know what I mean? And you get inside, a racing community like it was at the first race, his inaugural event. It was just like overwhelming, the amount of people. But it's special just to see the love and the community come together for a huge event like this.
Yeah, it means the world. Last year I was kind of nervous about a lot of things, and my wife kept telling me it's going to be okay. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Don't worry about it. And at the end of the night, she kind of looked at me and told me, she said, we did it. It was a success, and it's kind of at the end of it, you're kind of like, man, that was a lot of work. But as soon as it's over, it's like, let's get going on next year. So it's a lot of hard work going into it. And before I forget, I want to thank Mike Butler with Butler Electric. He helps out with the modifieds. I don't want to leave him out, because he does a lot for the modifieds, and he come back again this year. And also David Taylor with Bobby Taylor Oil Company, he's come on, and he wants to add some money to the purse down the line for the modified guys. So, Dad was a big modified guy too and stuff. So that was pretty good. I don't want to leave him out. So just thought about it.
Well, not a problem. Anybody else that you think of real quick before we leave here that you want to mention?
Man, I just want to thank, like I said, Michael and Pam Wells. Ron Hill done a lot of work on the track for Michael Wells. I want to put him in there too. I don't personally know Ron, but I know he's done a lot of work. And like I said, my wife, my brother, I'm trying to make sure I don't forget nobody. Jim Long with the Steel Block Series. I appreciate him coming back again. Him and his staff, they do a good job. I like how they make sure they text stuff, and they run a good show. So, and Eddie with announcing, he's been in back and forth with me. So I like Eddie. Eddie's a good guy. So I appreciate him. And one more thing, don't forget, we're going to throw frisbees for they got the starting, whoever starts the race with the Steel Block Bandits will have a frisbee to sign on front straightaway and throw out to the crowd. And whoever driver wins the race, whoever catches that frisbee is going to come down to victory lane and take a picture with the winning driver. So a little something to help with the kids, get the kids involved. I remember when I was a kid, drivers throwing frisbees out in the crowd, and if you caught the winning drivers, frisbee, you come to victory lane. Well, you get to go down there and take a picture and stuff like that. I mean, a little something for the kids, because they're the next thing, keep the sport going, and you keep them excited and they keep coming back. So,
it sounds like a super, super event that, like you said, after year one was finished and we closed the book on it, you've already started to make it even bigger and better for the second year, man. We wish you all the best of luck, man. I hope it's a great, successful weekend, which I'm sure it will be, because it's going to be a great class with the Steel Block. Going to be there, $10,000 up for grabs, and hey, and some lucky person who catches a frisbee autographed by a member of the Bandit Posse will get to come down, take a picture of the winning driver in victory lane. And I think that's a great idea. I think that's super cool. I know a lot of people will be looking forward to that in hopes that they catch that frisbee so they can get down where the winner is parked in victory lane.
Yes, sir. And we will have shirts and stuff available on the grandstand side also, not just in the pits. There will be grandstand side also. Just want to put that out there.
All right. Well, make sure to mark your calendars now. March the 17th and 18th, Halifax County race. Second, Mark Batten Memorial with the Steel Block Bandits. Mark your calendar. Go ahead and knock that weekend off. That you're going to be in Littleton, North Carolina, right there in the Little Red Clay Bull Ring for a great event. Come out and support a local racetrack, and number two, come join us as we celebrate and remember the life of Mark Batten of Batten Built Racing Engines, and just a big, huge name in the racing industry in our area. Super nice guy. We're going to honor him, and we hope to see you all there. This has been another Inside Edition of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. I'm Kip Thompson. Again, tonight's very special guest is Daniel Batten, and hope that you will come and join us again March the 17th and 18th. As we sign off, make sure that you look at YouTube, go to our page, like, share, and subscribe. You can also find us on Facebook at Voice of Victory Lane, and like and share this show where everybody can see, kind of what's going on with the second annual Mark Batten. Tonight's show is brought to you by Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Tony and Bobby Jackson, with their catering business, they will come to your event, big or small, at least 30 people or more. They'll bring a big, huge, nice menu, great food, great staff. Anytime you're at the Fayetteville Motor Bay, be sure to check them out in their food truck located up on the main concourse area, right beside the press box. Also, Barrier Fence Supply out of Supply, North Carolina. Make sure that you check them out on Facebook and their webpage. They are a huge wholesale and distributor of aluminum fencing. They have bulk pricing available and working up a big deal right now to incorporate vinyl fencing. So you want to contact those guys and be sure to tell them that the Voice of Victory Lane sent you their way. We hope everyone has a wonderful Valentine's Day evening with your loved ones. And thank you again for watching. Again, tonight's show was Daniel Batten, and I'm Kip Thompson, Voice of Victory Lane. And be on, we always say, we could be coming to a racetrack near you, and you could be who we're talking about next on our show. Everyone have a great week. We'll see you at the racetrack really soon here in 2023. Good night, everybody.